Let's turn to the migrant and refugee crisis. 142 illegal migrants have been deported back to Guinea. This was undertaken in conjunction with the United Nations International Organization for Migration. Libya aims to evacuate 15,000 migrants within the month.
Migrants arriving in Misrata from the cities of Zewara and Zoya. As they board their flight back to Guinea, it marks the end of their troubled attempt to reach Europe.
In coordination with the migrant harboring centers of Zewara, Misrata and Zawiya, 142 migrants from Guinea-Conakry were deported.
Amid rising concerns over slavery in Libya, the Libyan government is stepping up evacuation of migrants who end up on its territory. This is aimed at decongesting detention centers, which are blamed for the rise in slave trade, which is said to be thriving in the black labor market in Libya. This initiative is part of a joint effort between Libya and international organizations. Detention centers are bursting at the seams, following the closure of both departure points in Sabratha. 14,500 migrants have so far been flown back home under the International Organization for Migration's Voluntary Returns Program. Most are from Guinea, Nigeria, Gambia and Senegal.
You okay?
Jane Keo, CGTN.
Well, to get more on this issue, we have Terry Ongaro with us in the studio. She's the communications specialist from UNHCR. Thank you very much for joining us, Terry. There are reports of a fresh influx of DRC refugees into Uganda. How worried is UNHCR about the high number of refugees being hosted by Uganda?
Yes, there has indeed been a surge in numbers arriving, refugee numbers from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And what is worrying is the suffering that is producing these refugees. Over the past year, over 100,000 refugees have fled Congo into neighboring countries, and Uganda has had the highest number. And this recent surge brings the number of...
Why have we got this recent surge?
Intercommunal violence across the border or across Lake Albert on the Democratic Republic of Congo side, which is troubling as well, because the fact that people are fleeing speaks to them not being protected, able to be protected by their government. And as I was saying, Uganda now has close to 250,000 Congolese refugees, in addition to over 1 million from South Sudan, and in total close to 1.5 million refugees.
So what kind of support is Uganda getting to effectively accommodate these huge numbers of refugees coming into the country?
Uganda gets support from mostly humanitarian donors. Unfortunately, the support that it receives is inadequate to meet the needs of such large numbers. Uganda has a very progressive refugee policy. They provide land. Refugees have access to basic services like health, education. So this puts a huge strain on the national services, huge strain on the local populations that are hosting these refugees. So refugees are getting the very basic needs, life-saving needs, but not enough to support the country to host them.
Well, this year, 2017, it's seen a huge amount of people displaced due to conflict, political instability, economic hardship. How should these issues be addressed, do you think, in 2018?
The only way to address these issues is through political solutions. Although by and large we've seen that these have failed. We see the situation in South Sudan where most recently IGAD hosted a revitalization conference for the peace process. Congo, as I said, has had over 100,000 people fleeing this year. They're close to 4 million displaced internally. So ideally we should have political solutions to these crises. But it's not happening. So I think there's just no easy answer.
What about the idea of repatriating refugees to their home countries? Is that a practical solution or not?
What we've seen is that when the situation does improve, when people feel it's safe to go back home, they actually start going before the UN even prepares them. So the fact that they're fleeing is a sign that things are really not well in their countries, and therefore it would be not, we can't even consider repatriation.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in. Terry Ongaro, the Communications Specialist from UNHCR.